Hello, everyone. Hope all is well. Hope that you're all having a great summer before many of you here head back to school in the fall. Um, I, again, am Jay Nichols. I am Vice President of Public Policy with Trust Association of America. As always, I'm joined by Olivia Woodrich, who is our uh, well-known policy coordinator. And we are here today to announce the launch of our 2026 Congressional August Recess Toolkit. This is now our third summer doing this, and we wanted to use the opportunity to touch base with all of you to give you a few pointers and some guidance in an effort that we hope that you have used an opportunity to meet with your congressional delegation as they, starting next week, from beginning July 27th all the way through Labor Day, will be back in their home districts and our home states. And so this is a great opportunity for all of you to re-engage your congressional delegation. I know many of you were here back in March, or at least joined us in years past. And it's a great opportunity to once again advocate for our organizations and our community's priorities. And again, I'm Jay Nichols, Vice President of Public Policy, going on 2.5 years, advocating with all of you. Let's begin by giving you just a little status of where things currently are during the second session of the 119th Congress. So we have about 5 months left before this Congress concludes, and the new Congress begins in early January of 2027. As we mentioned, starting July 27th, Congress will be in recess through Labor Day. And when they return, they're only going to be in Washington, D.C. for September before they adjourn again until after the midterm congressional elections. But however, they're going to be spending a lot more time back home in their home districts and states. And we think that is, as always, a great opportunity for you to re-engage and advocate, to the bipartisan strong representation that we have in this Congress. But we anticipate that there's going to be changes coming by next year. We do have some folks we have been working with over the years that are retiring, but they are still willing to do one more push for us in this current upcoming budget process. Now, where do things currently stand? As far as the advocacy that we launched in the first week of March here in Washington, D.C., with regards to our funding priorities. The priority number one, obviously, is the Public Health Education and Research Program on Tourette's Syndrome at the CDC. There hasn't been a lot of action here so far. However, on the House, with the House of Representatives in the Appropriations Committee, and that's a committee that's tasked with drafting next year's budget for fiscal year 2027, which technically begins on October 1st, but it's unlikely that the budget's going to be completed by then, and it may more likely start either closer to the end of the year or early next year. However, but that being said, the last month, the House Appropriations Committee did pass a proposed spending bill that funds the Departments of Labor, Health and Human Services, and the Department of Education. And it includes full funding for pretty much all of our priorities, and especially priority number one, the CDC TS Research and Education Program, at $2.5 million, where it has been currently funded at for the last several years. That's a great start. As always, the last few years, it's been tough. A tough budget climate. There have been members proposing to cut certain health-related and education-related programs, but our advocacy has really paid off, especially through members of our congressional caucus, and our priorities stay the same and are still at the top of everyone's list. In addition to this, the National Center on Birth Defects, Developmental Disabilities is the office where our program and a number of other health-related programs are housed. They did propose a slight overall reduction by about $5 million, but it is very, very close to what it was funded at this current year, which is $205 million. We are working with the Senate on the Senate side to get that funding restored in their bill. The National Institute of Health and National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke, particularly NINDS, received a full funding proposal, maintaining funding. What's currently funded at FY26, they want to propose funding in 27, and the House also fully funded the National Institute of Mental Health. So with regards to budget, we are in a very, very strong position to start. There's obviously much more to do and a lot more work left, especially between House and Senate leadership. As far as what has been happening on the Senate side, the Senate Appropriations Committee has not published its proposed bill that funds HHS, labor, and education. We were hoping it would be done this month, but due to events kind of out of our control, the process with the Appropriations Committee has been stalled out somewhat. Staff continue to meet. We continue to engage key members on that side, but it does appear that it looks like this work will likely pause until after they return from recess in September. We will certainly keep you updated. And lastly, the Safe Step Act. This is the legislation, the bill we've been trying to pass for the last few Congresses, came very close to in the last one, that would amend step therapy protocols, particularly known as the fail first option, and ensuring that patients receive the proper, the most proper and adequate treatment for them and their needs. The legislation, what has been introduced in both the House and Senate bills, Congressman Raul Ruiz of California, and a number of others, as well as Senators Lisa Murkowski and Maggie Hassan. The same co-sponsors from the last legislation are there. It has been introduced. The House bill currently has about 180 co-sponsors, and the Senate bill has about 40. All this is strongly bipartisan, but not much. There was a hearing in late March with the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, and where this bill was discussed. Unfortunately, there hasn't been any hearing held on the House side, and there has not been any votes scheduled. But we still are advocating to members of both the Education and Labor and Health committees. And we are hoping that at least in one of these committees this fall, a markup, a hearing where the legislation can get its vote and possibly passed out of committee and head to either the House or Senate floor. Where we're really, really pushing for that. We're in the remaining 5 or so months that we have, we'll see how much momentum we continue, that we can kind of continue to get. Compared to recent years, this bill has been moving a little bit slower than what we have liked, but you just got to keep on pushing, obviously, as Congress is always working on hundreds of other things, but it is a strongly supported bill, and this is definitely something we would really like for all of you to highlight in your meetings. As I mentioned, how things are likely going to play out post end of summer. The current fiscal year, which is 2026, it ends at 11:59 p.m. on September 30th. And October 1st technically marks the new fiscal year. But Congress will not finish a new budget before then. And what they're going to have to do to avoid a government shutdown is pass and enact what's called a continuing resolution that keeps the government funded for a period of time. How long that could be, we don't know. We can't actually say for certain how long that temporary funding measure would last. It would likely last at least through the midterm congressional elections, as Congress is going to likely adjourn in October and return home until after early to mid-November. So we will certainly keep you updated on that. If you're wondering, could a bill get done this year? It could. Could by the holidays in mid to late December, could they actually get an agreement done before this Congress concludes? It is very possible, but it's probably going to depend on what happens in November, especially if there are leadership changes coming next year in either the House or the Senate. But again, this could carry into next year as it has in recent years, and it could take the first couple of months of 2027 to finalize this budget. So it remains to be seen. And then, you know, if they were to actually be able to get this bill done, or perhaps there could be a separate legislative vehicle where they like to review any pending bipartisan legislation, including the Safe Step Act. They usually try to do just enroll a number of bills that are not controversial and try to get them done so you don't have to start over in the new Congress in January. But there's a lot of unknowns right now, and so all we can really do is just make sure that we keep pushing our members and to fully fund our priorities and to keep our community as a top priority. And now I am actually going to pause. Olivia is going to spend a few moments just to once again touch base on what our priorities are and kind of and also highlight what the toolkit looks like, what it's going to include, and the resources it will provide to help you with your meetings.
Thanks so much, Jay. Hello, everyone. As you know, my name is Olivia Woodridge, and I'm the policy coordinator here. So jumping into our congressional asks. So of course, number one is continued, continued support of the $2.5 million in funding in FY 2027 appropriations, of course, and that is with our program with the CDC. Second, of course, is to join the bipartisan Congressional Tourette Syndrome caucus. Members can contact Craig with Congressman Steve Cohen's office, or Dominic Priscilla with Representative Andrew Garbarino's office. Of course, those are our two co-sponsors. You can do next slide, Jay. Of course, to support full funding for medical research at the National Institute of Health, also the NIH, the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Strokes, National Institute of Mental Health, and of course the National Center on Birth Defects and Developmental Disabilities. And our final ask is to co-sponsor the Safe Step Act of 2025. As Jay mentioned, we've had this ask previously. We were, super close last time, so hopefully, this time we can get it introduced again. So you can go to the final slide, Jay. So what is included in this toolkit? So of course, background information on the fiscal year 27 priorities, summary of legislation, talking points for meetings, of course, sample email meeting requests, and a letter to the editor template. And of course, you can access all of this at the link right there on the slide. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Olivia. And for those of you looking here on this at the bottom of the slide, the hyperlink to the toolkit. Many of you may be wondering why does it say 2025. Just want to assure you, this is not, when you click on this link, you will get the 2026 version. It won't be last summer's. It's just as we are actually recording this webinar prior to July 27th. On the 27th, when this goes live, it will turn over to accurately display the 2026 page. And so thanks again, Olivia. And how to best schedule your meetings. Honestly, the best way is you'll see the website there at congress.gov. This is the best way to do it, especially in district or in state. So what you see here is actually my congressional delegation, both of my Virginia senators and then my local congressman. What you do is when you go to the congress.gov where it says find your member, just enter your mailing address zip code. When you enter the zip code, it should pull up 3 offices, both of your senators and your congressman or congresswoman. What they have is, now this is what you see here is their Washington DC contact. This is the first page it will pull up to. However, it also does give you the option when you click back here, when you say click on Congressman Donald Byer. When you click on it will actually, the next page it brings you to gives you the location of both of the representative's office and or the senator. It will, where it says district office, you'll give you the contact information. And what probably the best way to do this, since they don't provide a generic email address via this website, the best thing to do is, it should have a phone number for every office, is to call that office and just ask for the name of the staffer, as well as, and also ask for that staffer's email address. They actually might provide you with a more generic email address, but this is where you would want to email your actual meeting request. Most offices prefer, when it comes to staff or member meetings, if you request for a meeting, they like to have it in writing, as opposed to just calling for the phone and just kind of going through the details there. But this information is all publicly available when you ask for it. And that is probably the best way and most efficient way, time efficient way to schedule your meetings. Once your meeting is scheduled, please let us know, both myself and Olivia. If possible, if your meeting is in person, that's great. Please be sure to bring some of the background materials that will be on the actual August Recess Toolkit, just so you can hand them to the member and or staffer. If it is virtual, and you would like to have either myself or Olivia participate, please feel free to contact us and we'd be more than happy to help. I think in many cases it might be it may be a hybrid, but we are seem to, in the post-COVID world, seem to be returning to a lot more in-person related events. So most likely, if you could try to do this in person, that'd be great. But if your schedule really doesn't allow, or their schedule might be a little too crowded, a virtual option certainly would suffice. And then at the conclusion of the meeting, please ask for the staffers who met with you, their business card, and just contact information, so you could send them a very brief thank you note shortly, after a day or two after the meeting. So as we now are closing out, and before we close out, I should say, just as always, we like to provide just some basic tips. I know for many of you who have worked with us in the past and have attended meetings with us, I'm sure you've heard this before, but it is important to mention. When you're in these meetings, please avoid discussing politics. I did mention, we did mention it is a midterm election year, but this really is not the setting to discuss elections or even political contributions. You really want to stick to, they really prefer to stick to the subject matter. And speaking of the subject matter, please stay on message. Time is limited. As always, please share your personal stories and lived experiences. It really helps drive the message and really helps build support and strengthen support with certain offices. Please avoid videotaping or recording the meetings. These are when they meet with constituents, these are supposed to be off the record type kind of meetings, and really just friendly engagement. If you would like to have a photo with the staffer and or member, please ask permission first. They almost always will agree to do it because they do like to promote the people that they're meeting with and the people that they're helping back home. And as please be sure to follow up via, when you do send your thank you note after your meeting, because staff, just like they are here in Washington DC and in their Capitol Hill offices, their staff are just as busy back home, And with all that they have on their plate, they may forget. But so it's really incumbent that we all make sure that they don't. And so please keep in touch with them at post meetings, and Olivia and I can certainly assist with that. And most of these meetings, usually when it comes to length, usually it's no more than 25 to 30 minutes. You should not really feel rushed when you're in these meetings, but there could be some could come up to where they might have to shorten the meeting. In situations like that, we are providing you with a one-pager of talking points. If you have to just pick a handful you think are the most important and tie it into your personal story. But for the most part, you shouldn't feel rushed. You should have plenty of time for your discussion. And with that, Olivia and I, as always, want to thank you for your ongoing support. There is our contact information for any questions. And as you know, first thing on July 27th, on our website, our 2026 toolkit will officially launch. And really appreciate your ongoing support. If looking forward to hopefully seeing some of you in person again down the road, and wish you the best of luck. And as also, please enjoy the rest of your summer.